I had kind of the scenic route to becoming a therapist. I think when I was younger, I don't think it ever crossed my mind once that my future might be in therapy or anything mental health related. I had my first encounter with the mental health field when I was struggling with my own really severe depression. And that's when they referred me to therapy for the first time. I felt like my life had been saved. So I was like, you know what? I think I maybe could do this, right? I registered for my master's and things just took off. But even my bachelor's degree was in English, right? I had no intention of veering into this field, but I definitely think it was a calling that kind of pulled me into that. You know, did you ever feel like you kind of wound up here by fate, you know?
Absolutely. I actually got my bachelor's in psychology, got my master's degree, and I was pregnant as I was graduating with my master's degree. And similarly to you, I got hit with really bad postpartum depression. I say that experience, although it was really, really difficult experience, has been worth as much as my education, that lived experience.
I think having lived through a lot of these things does connect with our clients. It brings some, I think, authenticity. I don't think you have to experience exactly the same thing in order for them to relate, but I think they can feel, oh, you've been somewhat through this before, and I think that speaks volumes. Do you have a specialty, Anna? Do you have anything like that you focus in on?
I do. I have like a underlying framework that I use for every therapeutic encounter I have, and it's person-centered therapy or client-centered therapy. Yeah. And what that means in a nutshell is that we really try to listen actively to what the client is saying and understand and form that therapeutic relationship. And we view our clients with something called unconditional positive regard.
Yes, I remember that.
So we've really, another framework that I use is strength-based therapy. So I really try to look at my clients' strengths and emphasize those. And I dabble into other kinds of therapy and like cognitive behavioral, dialectical behavioral therapy, but those two are like the basis of everything that I do, client-centered and strength-based.
Definitely agree with person-centered. I love the notion of unconditional positive regard. Sometimes we are the first people to present that to our clients, right? No one has seen them without fault, and so it's very difficult for them to adjust to that positivity. So I love that.
So nowadays, psychiatrists mostly focus on prescribing psychotropic medications. Right. Exactly. Although there are some psychiatrists who are also psychotherapists and do both. But I'd say for the most part, they focus on the medication part, where therapists focus on talk therapy. We do not prescribe medications of any kind. So we focus specifically on talk therapy, and the two are not mutually exclusive. The two work very well together in some cases. And again, it really depends on your preferences, on your individual situation, because some of my clients seek therapy and take psychotropic medications through their psychiatrist. Some do medications only. I've known people who do that too, and others do therapy only.
Yeah, I would agree. Exactly the same process. At our organization, typically the intake and all of the initial assessments are done by the therapist. And then if we see a need, or if there's been a recent kind of urgent thing like a hospitalization, then we'll refer over to psychiatry. They may see psychiatry at regular intervals, like say once a month or once every 6 to 8 weeks. But they definitely will see the therapist at a more regular set of intervals than they would see the psychiatrist. And that may be agency specific, because you're right, there are people that are medication only, but the majority of my clientele will see me say weekly or biweekly, and then we'll see the psychiatrist, monthly or so to check on medication progress.
I think the best way is to figure out what kind of therapy you need or you would benefit the most from is to explore a little bit, to do some research about different types of therapy first and see what resonates with you, and then make sure to interview your therapist before you start therapy with them.
Yeah, I agree.
Everybody, as far as I know, every therapist offers a free 10 to 15 minutes consultation, so you can see whether you are a good fit or not. So I would highly recommend that.
Very true. I think now you can, we have the beauty of technology. You can Google things. You can Google different orientations. For example, if you're someone with a need, say you are a member of the LGBTQ community and you want a therapist that specializes in that area, you definitely want to do your research because it's going to be paramount that you feel comfortable with your therapist and that you can be completely open and honest so that they can help you appropriately. And it's not beneficial if you don't feel comfortable, right? And I think some people get nervous because they don't want to offend, and maybe they don't feel quite comfortable, but they don't want to, they don't want to step on their therapist's toes or something like that. Even on our end of things, we want you to be in a space where you feel comfortable and you feel good and you can come and get support. There's going to be no help if you don't come because you don't like me, or you come and don't tell your full truth. So I think it's really important to be honest, it's not a personal thing, This is not our personal lives. You come and you don't like the way I sound or something like that, maybe that's a bias that you can overcome and get supported, but maybe it's something you have to be open and honest about so that you can seek support elsewhere. And I always encourage clients, to take the reins, and if you feel like this is a good fit or you have a specific need, say that, be honest about that so that need can be met. But I wouldn't suggest that clients have to they don't have to, have an academic listing of orientations and they have to say, hello, I would like a person-centered, narrative, trauma-informed therapy, right? You don't have to do that. But I do think that being open and honest about just your experiences and what your expectations are in therapy can really help guide you finding a good fit.
Remember, you are the expert of yourself. So you know what works for you and what doesn't. And it's the other way around too. Sometimes as a therapist, I feel like I'm not the best fit for that particular client. And I should be open enough and courageous enough to say, hey, I don't think I can help you in the best way. Maybe you should look for somebody else, and maybe there are some therapists I can recommend that would work better for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that definitely goes both ways. You're right. But I love the idea that our client is the expert. They're the ones that know what they're trying to get support for. So, open up, tell us what's going on and we'll try our best to help.